Hello, everyone. My name is Darren Fink, Programming Coordinator for the National Restaurant Association show, and I want to welcome you to all today's webinar, Complaints Are Gifts, How to Turn Feedback into Loyalty. Thank you for being here. Before we get started, I want to cover off on a few housekeeping items. First, closed captioning for this webinar will appear at the bottom of the video in English. We are recording this session and it will be available to watch on demand within a few business days. You'll receive an email when the recording is published. And lastly, for those interested in earning continuing education hours, this webinar is approved for 0.75 CEU through Food Service Consultants Society International and 0.75 CEH through the American Culinary Federation. Please email us to request a certificate of attendance. The National Restaurant Association show is the ultimate gathering for food service industry and offers more resources, information, and connection opportunities than any other industry event. With over 1,500 exhibitors, a world-class education program, live culinary and beverage demos, and networking events, and so much more, the show offers everything you need to grow your business. We have so many new and exciting features planned for the 2026 show taking place in Chicago this May, and we hope to see you all there. You can learn more and register on our website, nationalrestaurantshow.com. It is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Mark Maynard, a renowned speaker and leadership consultant with over 3 decades of experience transforming businesses into industry leaders. Drawing from his illustrious career at Danny Meyer's Union Square Hospitality Group, Mark is an expert in enhancing customer experience, boosting employee engagement, and driving financial success. Co-author of The Next Frontier of Restaurant Management and a distinguished educator at institutions like Cornell and Columbia, Mark brings actionable strategies and inspiring insights that transcend industries. Before I pass things over to Mark, we will be doing a demonstration on handling complaints in a food service setting later. We'd love to hear your common complaints you receive from your customers in your operations. As you think of them, pop them into the chat to inspire our demonstration. Now, without further delay, let's give a warm welcome to Mark Maynard.
Thank you, Darren. Hello, everyone. I'd like to share an experience that changed the way I think about customer service and hospitality. It was an incident at table 50. It's Sunday night, and I am working the room at Danny Meyer's flagship restaurant, Union Square Cafe. The sounds of clinking glasses and the smells of roasted garlic fill the air. I glide through the room wearing the suit I just bought to celebrate my promotion to junior manager. I feel like king of the world. A middle-aged gentleman flags me over to his table. Table 50, you guessed it. Young man, I ordered my steak medium rare, and it was well done. What are you going to do about it? As I listen to the man, I notice his empty plate, and I'm convinced he's just trying to impress his date. Sir, I'm sorry about that, but if I may ask, if you didn't like the steak, then why did you eat the whole thing? He glares at me. I offer to buy them dessert, and he replies with a terse, no, thank you. Old man pays and leaves the restaurant, fuming. As he walks out the door, I roll my eyes and think, just another entitled New Yorker. The following afternoon, I arrive at work, and Danny Meyer calls me into his office. Hey, Mark, did something happen at table 50 last night? Yeah, a really rude guy complained at the end of the meal. Well, you're going to see that man again because I invited him back on us due to the way you handled that situation. I don't know what you were trying to prove, but if you had just taken the steak off the check and apologized, we could have avoided all this. What would have cost us $20 may now cost our reputation. Please don't let that happen again. I slowly back out of Danny's office, feeling small, and walk over to my desk, sulking. That moment changed me. And the following morning, I wake up feeling even worse. As I'm stirring my oatmeal, I realize I have a choice. Ignore the lesson or change the way I lead. Sitting at my table in Brooklyn that morning, I commit myself to using that embarrassing experience to help others navigate this world of customer service, just like I'm doing today. And I have told that story hundreds of times over 30 years. It's kind of become one of my greatest hits. Not bad for an absolute failure. It can hurt to be called out, trust me. But complaints motivate us to address issues we've been ignoring for too long. That employee who was just rude to a guest, yeah, we know he's an issue. That crack on the sidewalk that someone just tripped over again, we've been talking about that for months. Those cobwebs above the reception desk, I saw them the other day and I forgot to ask maintenance to remove them. Doubly hard is when we are convinced we are crushing it and a guest reveals something we've missed entirely. While those complaints may be the most difficult to hear, they also have the greatest potential for transformation because they help us see that we aren't even living up to our own expectations. So, how do we remain open to feedback that just doesn't feel good to hear? It's helpful to admit that we're only human and we're not perfect. How about what if instead of defending against complaints, we welcome them? What if we see our customers who complain as members of our team who are only trying to make us better? Or what if we embraced a mindset that sincerely believes without complaints, we can never improve? Now we're talking. That shift in mindset has enormous power. Let's dig in. Anyone who studies religion or politics will know that a convert is the best person to grow the congregation of followers. Because these are people who didn't believe and they know what it's like to be converted. There is no one more loyal than a customer who has been turned around. These folks who go from critic to fan tell the world a couple of things. First, how they showed us the light by complaining and made us better. And secondly, how beautifully we handled the situation and why other people should be loyal to us as well. In fact, these people who've been turned around are more loyal than if everything had just gone perfectly from the start. Similarly, a leader who also has a conversion in the way they think about complaints has the power to influence everyone they lead throughout their career. And my example is proof, and that's another reason I'm here today. But clearly, I always wasn't a believer, as you saw from that experience. I grew up in rural New England, and back then I worked at a lot of restaurants and hotels, and we served a lot of tourists, most of whom were from New York or Boston. And we weren't always the most welcoming because we found these city people to be overly demanding. So I took that baggage with me in my 20s when I moved to New York City and started working at Union Square Cafe. And what I didn't realize at the time was that Union Square Cafe was so special because of the way Danny Meyer used the Midwestern hospitality he grew up with in St. Louis and transplanted it to the New York City fine dining scene, which was supposed to be snobby. So that incident at table 50 went against everything Danny stood for. Fortunately for me, Danny applied that hospitality in the way he dealt with my rudeness. Now, like any skill, gracefully handling complaints requires training and practice. And so after that mistake at table 50, I began to practice new ways to handle complaints and see which ones resonated better with our guests. I was pretty clunky at first, but over time, I gained confidence. And not only did I learn how to resolve complaints, I became an expert at noticing complaints in the making before they even rose to the issue of negative feedback. It's, excuse me. So here's the problem. If we do not actively seek feedback from our customers, good or bad, we run the risk of driving them to the internet to complain before they give us the chance to turn things around. The most damaging complaint is the one that isn't shared with the person who can make it right. And I think back to that table 50 incident, and I am so relieved that the internet didn't exist back then. Because imagine what that gentleman would have said about me. I know what I would have said about me. And when I see a complaint online nowadays about something that I think could have been handled on the spot, usually it's a small thing, I wonder why the people who run that business didn't just handle it. And I wonder if they are only trying to avoid discomfort. When I think back to how I improved and why I became comfortable accepting that feedback, it was that I realized that I had to practice, but also get more comfortable with discomfort. I thought about an athlete who's trying to get stronger. They build muscle by stressing their system and gradually making themselves more uncomfortable. The result is more strength. It's no different with complaint resolution. The more we embrace discomfort, the more opportunities we have to improve. And the more we practice, the better we get at engaging with our customers. It's simple. You get better by doing. Back in 2018, as Darren mentioned, I collaborated with Alex Susskind, a researcher at Cornell, on our book, The Next Frontier of Restaurant Management. We use Alex's academic research and my hospitality experience to unpack many aspects of the hospitality industry. including a chapter on complaint management. We start by defining what a complaint is. And we define it as a social confrontation to change an outcome. I really like that definition because by including the word confrontation, we address the inherent discomfort. Now, when you think about it, most of us go out of our way to avoid confrontation, right? So if something is happening that makes someone complain, I've changed my mindset to realize that people have mustered a certain amount of courage. That's right. Feedback is an act of courage. And when you think of it that way, you're more likely to approach any of these conversations with an open heart. Now, complaints in our world generally start small, the result of a shortcoming in the product or the service we're providing. Maybe in a restaurant scenario, the food is cold or we seat someone late for a reservation. But what about when something's a little bit more complicated? Like when your top 2 VIP guests have selected the same table in advance. And you know one of them is going to be sorely disappointed when they arrive and see that the other person is at the table. Or what about, if you put yourself in my mindset when I was younger, what about if you believe that maybe the person complaining is just trying to get a freebie? And then that leads you down a rabbit hole of, well, wait, how do I resolve this complaint without being a sucker? Well, I advise that you just stop asking that question. We're in the hospitality industry. We're in the service industry. We will never be a sucker if we remember that we're here to serve our guests and not the other way around. They're here for a fun night out, a nourishing meal, or certainly nowadays, an escape from reality. And it is our job to make that happen for them. So when something does go wrong, what prompts someone to break through that threshold to complain? Alex Susskind's research has found 2 key reasons. 1, information inadequacy, and 2, frustration. In other words, when people don't know what's going on and they don't believe anyone's listening. The longer people are kept in the dark and the stronger they believe they aren't being heard, the greater the potential for conflict. And stonewalling only cranks up the volume and makes things even worse. On the other hand, gracefully and compassionately listening to customers who complain, approaching their concerns with empathy, and then looking for ways to solve their problem generates goodwill. Remember, a convert becomes the biggest zealot. And these folks who are converted become the most loyal customers who love us forever. But an enlightened mindset isn't enough. In order to have lasting impact, you need systems that are informed by your enlightened philosophy. Your team needs to be aligned around one of my core principles. Think like a guest. Thinking like a guest is the process of putting ourselves in our customers' shoes. Really envisioning what went into their decision to click on our website, call us on the phone, or walk through our front door. Imagining what they want from a relationship with us and following every step of their journey as they interact with our organization. Excuse me, my goodness. So this process is so helpful that I'm blown away when people don't use it. It may seem outrageous to say, but I believe too many businesses forget that they're serving human beings. They get excited by their product, but it's almost as if they've never actually been a customer in their own business. And you've seen this. Think about it. Think about how an uncomfortable chair at a fancy restaurant can ruin a meal that's supposed to be transcendent and relaxing. Remember how difficult it was to read that tiny menu font. It was so difficult you couldn't even get excited by the food. And remember how annoying it was when there was nowhere in the restroom to place your purse. Now, these things may seem minor, but they can add up. And for me, they could reflect a lack of empathy on the people who are running the business. And yet it's so simple to put yourselves in your customer's shoes. I really encourage you to think like a guest at your own business. Give it a try. Go onto your website and try to buy your product or book a reservation. Is it as intuitive or seamless as it could be? Could you save a few clicks? Call your customer service line and see how friendly and knowledgeable the person on the other end of the line is. Or walk through your front door, drive to your place, park in the back in the parking lot, and see how safe it is to walk from that parking space to the front door. And when you get to the front door, notice how clean it is. Notice the music levels. Notice the signage. Every time I've done this in my own businesses or with my clients, I've learned something. And it always improves the customer experience because it gives me an idea or gives us an idea of little added touches we could make or changes we could do before the next busy season. An organization that does this always seems to find ways to serve its customers because it's always putting them first. I have an example. Sam and Natalie Orens are clients of mine who own and operate Quisisana, a small seasonal resort in rural Maine that has been in operation since 1920. Sam literally grew up there. And it's the sort of place that while it looks really rustic, behind the scenes, they have a sincere and disciplined drive to serve their guests, many of whom have been going there for generations. So when I started working with them, I asked Sam, how do you have such loyal guests? And he said, oh, that's easy. We make it our mission to get to know what they like, how they drove up here, what they're feeling when they arrive, so we can know how to serve them. And then he said, but then I have a trick. Every year, I add something new just to keep things fresh. And I love that because a place that's been in operation for over 100 years can easily rest on nostalgia. But Sam and Natalie also know that they might have new guests who haven't been going there for generations. And so they want to keep up with the times. Usually how they do this is they have a really disciplined process where they do a review at the end of every season and review the staff, the food, the facility, and then make plans to change things for the next year. Well, in 2022, they didn't exactly have this luxury, and they had to make some changes on the fly. You see, it started raining in early June and rained for the first 30 days of the season. As you might imagine, the people were driven indoors, which may not be a problem with a place with a huge lodge, but Quisisana is built around spending time outdoors. And so there simply wasn't enough communal space for people to spend indoors. and people got frustrated and they took it out on the staff. So in the middle of the season, while they really couldn't resolve things on the spot, what they did is they committed to building a huge deck and covered bar overlooking the lake in time for the following season. And the 2023 season, that next season, was their best ever. That deck became the central gathering spot at the resort. And the best thing was that beverage sales increased because people could buy a coffee in the morning or a cocktail at night. And at all hours of the day, the place was busy. The investment worked because Sam and Natalie and their leadership team put themselves in the position of a guest, heard that feedback, and took those insights, turned those insights into action. All because they were thinking like a guest. So before we dig deeper, I would love to talk to Darren and maybe do a little high stakes role play about handling a complaint. So Darren, if you would be kind enough to come back on here, we can try this.
Perfect. Hi. Yes. All right.
So what I'd like to do is you can actually don't tell me anything. This is what makes it high stakes. So
Great.
maybe just tell me the type of business so I can greet you in a certain way.
Sure.
And for the folks who are listening, I think you might see two different ways that I'm going to handle this situation.
All right. So let's say in this situation, I am a customer who is seated at a table in a, let's say, casual restaurant, dinner time, and you are our server, and I've got a complaint.
Great.
You ready?
All right. Hi there.
Hi. I have to tell you, we have not had a good experience here. We have been everything has been so slow. We got seated so slowly. We got here super early and took forever to get seated, took forever to get our drinks. Now it's taking forever to get our food, and there's nobody in here. I don't see, there's like two other people seated in this restaurant, but no one is helping us. And I don't understand why we're not getting service.
Interesting. Have you ever worked in a restaurant?
I don't know what that has to do with anything.
Well, you know, it's not as
I'm
easy as it
paying
looks.
to be here.
It's not as easy as it
I,
looks.
I can understand that, but I also don't understand, like, there's two people in this restaurant. Like, we have a show later. We have to get somewhere. So this is unacceptable.
So what do you think I should do about it then? I mean, I'm not the cook. I mean, I'm just the waiter.
You're supposed to, like, deliver our service in a timely fashion. I don't understand. Like,
Well,
this is just unacceptable.
can I tell you something? This
Yeah.
place is going down the tubes. All right. And look,
Okay.
this is probably my last day. All right. So all right, I'm just gonna go in there, and because frankly, I don't know what to do. I mean, this place is so bad. So I'm just gonna, I don't even know what I'm gonna do. And frankly, did you see the online reviews? I mean, I don't even know why you came here. It's like you kind of should have known better. You know?
Okay. Well, good luck with your career, I guess.
Yeah. Thanks, and good luck getting to that show.
Wow.
All right. Close scene.
And scene.
I loved, actually, I'm not going to say anything now. Do you want to try that again?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm feeling a bit frustrated, so let's
Yeah,
see
it's
how we
funny.
go
Yeah,
this
yeah.
time.
It was fun though.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. I just have a couple of issues. We are trying to get to a show later, and it just feels like everything's been slow. We got here with plenty of time to go to our show, yet we got seated really late. the food and the drinks have been coming out really late, and it feels like there's like no one in this restaurant right now. There's a couple of tables that I can see. So I'm not
Mhm.
really understanding why things are coming out so late, and we're probably going to be late to our show.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I I was noticing the same thing myself, and I was thinking you actually were you even told us you were going to a show, so I can imagine that if you're going to a show and you're in a rush, that must make you feel really uncomfortable. And obviously, I'm here to serve you, and we are not here to have you stressed out. We want you to relax, and I want you to relax. So I am so sorry that we are doing this to you. Um,
Thank
I'll be
you.
honest, I don't know what I can do, but here's what I want to do. I am going to leave this table right now, and I'm going to go get the manager and go see what's up with your food. And I am personally accountable for fixing this, even if it's beyond my control. I'm going to be the one who advocates for you because I honestly don't know what's up, but I want to make this right. So
Thank
I don't
you.
want you to think I'm walking away. May I take a few minutes and find
Yeah.
out what's
Yeah.
up?
No, absolutely. Thank you. I do appreciate it.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving us the chance to fix this. And like I said, I'm really sorry that we're stressing you out. So stay tuned. I'll be right back.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ah.
See, that was more
Okay.
natural for me now.
You
Maybe
won me
not
back.
30
You
years
won me
ago.
back.
All right. So
All right.
um, I'd love to sort of think about what just happened there. And um, Darren, I might just ask you,
Sure.
since I know we're on a webinar here, it's hard to sort of have people raise hands and things. Um, I'd like to ask you how you felt physically in the two ways, even though we were pretending. How did you feel physically in the two ways we handled that? I handled that.
Um, I think the first one felt obviously uncomfortable in that not only I think it's like there's the part of being dismissed as a customer, feeling like you're there's like no reason for you to be complaining. But then I think it felt even more uncomfortable, and I even felt my body stiffen, like when uh, like you as the server was talking badly about your business,
Yeah,
and like felt like you were already out the door, and it
yeah.
felt like you're trying to bring me in to be your friend or your ally in that moment, and it just made me feel like, oh, I don't I don't know why you're telling me this. Yeah.
And and the crazy thing is, by the way, yes, I was exaggerating maybe by 20%. Everything I said to you, I have had said to me.
Sure. Sure.
And
Yeah.
and it blows my mind, when you many times we all go out to dinner or go out to lunch or whether it's a fast food or fancy, sometimes people overshare, and I think that's like too much.
Yeah.
But certainly I wasn't on your side, right? You know.
Mm-mm.
And then on the second one, just how did you feel? Because then after this, I'm going to get into the weeds of actually what was going on. So
Sure. I mean, for me, it's definitely knowing. I know that we have customers that might come in, and nothing you can say can necessarily fix the situation, but I
mhm,
think knowing that you were coming to me with that you had empathy, you understood, that we were in a situation and we kind of did everything right. We told you that we were going to a show, and just having that kind of empathy, and then knowing that you were going to do whatever, you were going to actually take action is
right.
a great feeling. I think knowing that maybe it's not like you were a superhero and you could save, make our show like an hour later, but I do
Mhm,
think that it felt obviously wildly different than the
yeah.
first one. And again, even my body was like relaxed in that
Yeah.
situation.
Well, thank you for that. So yeah, now what I'm going to do is, I think I'm all set with your incredible role playing there. Thank you. You'll get some SAG points for that. Thank you. Beautifully done. I would like to sort of unpack what just happened, and I'm only going to talk a little bit about the wrong one, but I think you can see that in the first scenario, I was clearly not on Darren's side, right? And on the second scenario, I was. And when you think about back to one of my things that I suggested is the second scenario, I saw Darren as almost like a member of my team who was trying to make us better. And when you think of it that way, you tend to have responses like I ended up having there. Clearly, I've practiced, in my career with that, but it becomes natural when solving people's problems. Here are the two things or the one thing I wanted to start with before I go even deeper. First, the first thing I said to Darren was, thank you. It is incredible that how powerful those two words are. And because people don't know how you are going to handle it, customers, and they are testing you. And I want to pass that first test. Because as soon as I do that, as soon as I say thank you, I'm saying I'm on your side. I see you. And as you recall from Alex Susskind's research, not being seen and heard is the number one reason to generate, number one way to generate complaints. Okay. Then what I did is I employed something called the 3 A's, which many of you may have learned. And the 3 A's are acknowledge, apologize, act. And the order is important there. The first thing I did was I acknowledged that it was kind of a messed up situation. And I acknowledged that, boy, you must be stressed if you're trying to get to a show. And so that's the sort of thing. I just want to acknowledge her reality. Okay. Again, I see you. The second thing I did was I apologized. Now, apologizing is really easy, especially if you have a few different things in mind that you can use, that you can deploy in different situations. One of the things I use all the time is, I'm so sorry that we let you down. And that is a great one because it doesn't really matter if you think the person is accurate or inaccurate, even pushy or totally reasonable. I'm sorry that we let you down, or I'm sorry that we've upset you. It's such an easy way to just say, hey, I'm here for you. And of course saying, it hasn't been 30 minutes, it's only been 26, which I've also had people say to me, that's just, it's not useful at all. The third thing I did here was I acted. Now, I purposely added a few extra phrases here because sometimes people, when I'm teaching, say, well, wait, I don't have the power to fix their situation. And that may be true, but you do have the power to say, I am going to advocate for you. And that is super important because these folks need someone on their side. And I am acting, I'm taking action. And I said what it was, I'm going to go talk to the manager and the sous chef, and I'm going to see what we can do. Okay. I personally find it kind of annoying when someone says, we'll look into that for you. No, I will look into that for you and I will see what we can do. Okay. So those are my 3 that I use. I use this one all the time. Unfortunately, I would sometimes use it with my kids and they'd be like, Dad, we're not a customer in your restaurant. But, it sort of bleeds into your personal life sometimes too. So now I want to go a tiny bit deeper and look into a couple more scenarios that require a little bit of risk, but risk generates breakthroughs. So in these scenarios, the idea of thinking like a guest is what's sort of generating the risk. So consider another restaurant scenario. You're clearing the plate, you notice the person didn't finish their main course. Now you could say nothing, or you could lean over and quietly say, I noticed you didn't finish your tuna. Is there anything we could have done better? Okay. The risk here is that you don't know the dynamic of what's happening at that table. Is this person trying to impress a client and they don't want to be seen as a whiner, right? So you're taking I think in this case, a pretty small risk, but you're also creating an opportunity for a breakthrough, because wouldn't you rather have that person complain to you if something isn't right than go on to Yelp? So this all kind of ties together. Ultimately the person might just say, I just had a big lunch, I'm not hungry, and that's totally fine. In a hotel scenario, maybe you're working the lobby of your hotel, and you're like, hey, how you doing? You're saying hi to everyone, and you stand and ask someone how their stay is going, and they say great, and that's awesome, and then you high five them and you go on to the next guest, and you say, how's your stay going? And they're like, it's good. Now, you could just walk away, or you could kind of plant your feet, look them in the eye, and say, how can we turn good into great? And they might just say, well, the bathroom is filthy, could you have it cleaned? That's really annoying. You do something. But they also might say something totally out of left field, like, yeah, you could ask my mother-in-law not to come on vacation with us again. Now, of course, that's a little outlandish, but I'm saying that because then you have this bond. And then you and this person could scheme to find a way to make that mother-in-law feel amazing. Find out what she likes. Send some chocolates to her room. And meanwhile, that person is going to get the credit for it. I love those sorts of things. And we did them all the time at Union Square Hospitality Group. So really engaging with your guest, with your customer, makes a huge difference. We don't need to be perfect, but it's vital that our customers feel like we are on their side. Now, one thing to remember in all of these things is that there's always an audience beyond the person you're talking to. And this, of course, extends to social media. So when someone complains on social media, I always like to suggest that we reply in the comment section with the email of the manager. This is not the most popular thing. Some people don't like doing that, but I do. And I like to say, great, here's my email. I would like to resolve this situation. And by being gracious, you're telling the world that you care and that you are taking accountability for this situation. But really, you really want this to be taken offline. Because as you know, social media can become a barroom brawl really quickly. And the last thing I want to do is get sucker punched. Because I want to protect the business, but I really want to make sure our customers feel like we are on their side. When I think of this, I've been inspired by the Four Seasons hotels, who really set the bar many, many years ago. And this quote from the founder, Isidore Sharp. Looks like we're having a little bit of, there we go. The reason for our success is the golden rule. The idea that if you treat people the way you would like to be treated, they'll do the same. If the Four Seasons hotels can build an entire reputation on the golden rule, I think the rest of us can do that as well. Now, I like to practice what I preach. And I would be incredibly grateful if you would take 1 minute to give me feedback about this webinar. I give it every once in a while. I give it from time to time live, and I always am looking for ways to improve. And I promise I will receive your feedback with the spirit that it's intended. So thank you very much for that. So how do we bring this all home? I'd like to just share a few takeaways that you can start in your business today. First, think about your mindset. Assume that your guests want to love you. They've chosen you over someone else. So why wouldn't they be rooting for your success? 2, seek the opportunity in the feedback. Yeah, it can sting when you hear something that just doesn't feel great. But usually there's a pearl of wisdom in there, or a seed of truth in there that you can use to improve your organization. It's easier to accept this sort of feedback when you think like a guest, when you put yourself in your customer's shoes and really imagine what they want from an experience with your business. Now, thinking like a guest isn't enough, as I said, and it's so important that when you learn something, you share it with your team and then create systems so that everyone in the organization can provide that incredible service and hospitality that you want to provide. This is only possible by empowering your people to make those split-second decisions on the fly at the service level. Because the moment they need to bring everything up the food chain, the longer it takes. And again, the longer it takes, the more frustrated people become and the more likely they are to be dissatisfied. And finally, whenever you are unsure about how to proceed, follow the golden rule and think about how people want to be treated and how you would want to be treated in a difficult or uncomfortable situation. When you are intentional with these things, you cultivate customers for life and your organization becomes unbreakable. Let's do this.
Thank you so much, Mark. What a fantastic presentation. It was such a pleasure having you here today and sharing all of your incredible insights with our attendees.
Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you. You do great work with complaining. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
I've got a career in it, I guess. Just to wrap up here, everyone, thank you again so much, Mark, and thank you everyone for joining today. If you have any questions for Mark, you'd like to get in contact, please use the QR code on the screen to reach out to him on LinkedIn. You can also download a PDF copy of today's presentation slides in the resources icon on the right-hand side of your webinar screen. As we've learned today, listening to feedback is important, and we want to hear from you. A brief survey will pop up or should have popped up on your screen. We appreciate you taking a few minutes to complete the survey and share your thoughts about today's session. So for more insights like these from our network of experts at the restaurant show, we encourage you to join us at the 2026 show this May. Again, you can learn more and register at nationalrestaurantshow.com. And thank you again, Mark, and thank you, everyone. We really look forward to seeing you all again. Have an incredible day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Thanks.